Oh boy, it has been a minute since I last uploaded. Semester is so far so normal. Just finished my first ever assignment yesterday. Filmed lots of B-rolls between now and the last video. Ass so pale. It's still winter, it still gets cold every once in a while, but hey, today bright sunny day, so why not be out in the sun? One tip that I learned from another YouTuber was that if you're shooting using natural lighting outdoors and it's very harsh direct sunlight with no clouds in the sky, then what you do is you go to a shaded area, diffuses your subject. Your subject is still perfectly exposed because it's still daylight, say like under the shade of a tree, and then you're golden. Ah yes, two reasons as to why I don't really like to film like during daytime or maybe like outdoors for these sorts of talking heads videos. One, background noise, planes flying over. Actually, how come planes are flying now that we have a pandemic? I thought they were all cancelled, virtually all cancelled. Oh, and two, the sun just keeps like going in and out because of the clouds. Changing white balance all the time, changing exposure. Not fun. That's why I chose to film at night times with like controlled studio lights. Things you learn on the job. You can't deny this setting's, you know, very nice, very pleasing to the eye, isn't it? I promised to like edit videos from my exchange last year, but like I literally started editing this video in the city of Nanjing for like one day, and then the next day I just couldn't be bothered to keep editing. So there's just this like half finished or even quarter finished edit just sitting in the hard drive that's been left untouched for a few weeks. Like, had I really put in the effort, that video would have been finished like last year. As soon as I finished with that trip, like I just started editing that out straight away, but I'd rather just YouTube and Netflix these days. So yeah, irregular uploads, just bad habit, bad rhythm. Hopefully I still get to graduate like normal, as in a world without lockdowns and social distancing and the likes. This is supposed to be my very last semester, but alas, last semester when there was lockdowns imposed on all of us, my filmmaking subject of last semester got postponed because you need to be working in film crews for your assignments. You legally couldn't be with large groups of people, so pretty much the whole subject had to be postponed to this semester. So now I'm graduating one semester later than originally planned, so that's fun. And just as the microphone's on, the background noises have to all come. Now thankfully my university has a trimester system, so I've chosen to do my very last filmmaking subject in the next semester, which is the summer semester, which happens over the summer holidays. If I'm missing out on one summer holiday just to graduate earlier and get into the real world just that tad little bit earlier, rather than just waiting for the first semester of like 2021 and having to wait until, oh gosh, like halfway through the next year. Like no, I'd rather miss summer holiday than that. And lots of people are thinking that too, because there's this subject we do that I'm supposed to do last semester, like the one that got postponed. That's supposed to be like a prerequisite subject for this final like capstone sort of subject that I'm meant to be doing right now. And because of extraordinary circumstances, hence the word extraordinary, there are exceptions made for students to be able to do both at the same time. And the lecturers were pretty much just said, yeah, it's gonna be hard, okay? And so everyone in the Zoom chat box was like, okay, I'm gonna do it in the summer semester, I'm doing it in the summer semester, I'm doing it in the summer semester. Yep, they did not give us much confidence. I feel bad for the high schoolers of this year, especially the ones in the state of Victoria, who were pretty much given a notice that, okay, we're gonna be more lenient on you with all the mental pressures that this lockdown and this pandemic would have. So we want to make sure that no one's efforts are hampered. Blue car. We want to make sure that no one's academic efforts are hampered by this pandemic, so we're gonna be more forgiving with our marks. Now, of course, yeah, that means some more laid back people are gonna find their way to slip through the cracks, but like in a pandemic, what can you do? You know, you gotta find compromises. Of course, there's gonna be the people that games the system, but it's like you gotta consider what's best for the masses. But yes, the case is made that, for example, people who study medical degrees, they need to have proper sort of placements and education, and you not just have online classes. So yes, you don't want medical students graduating with just online classes and having inadequate practical experiences. You know, it's interesting. It's like universities have always touted that eventually they're gonna have like online sort of infrastructure and learning. And now that this pandemic has come along, it's sort of sped up this sort of process. I nearly said protest. And what has happened as a result is that there's now a global litmus test as to see how people respond to the online format. Well, I'd say, okay, an online only format. Like this semester we have a mix of face-to-face tutorials and online tutorials to see how we can slowly resume back to like normal routine. But why go to just the way things were in the past? You know, that's kind of boring, isn't it? So now that we have a global litmus test, you see that people have not responded to every aspect of online learning very well. You see Facebook meme pages like Zoom memes for quarantines and like whatever variations of that name is. Now it's getting really windy and very cloudy. But hey, you know, humor is a coping mechanism. You know, turn a negative humor is a reflection of the negativity, but it's in our very human condition to just laugh at it. It's kind of like very British humor sort of approach, isn't it? But like there have been positives to online learning as well. One of my friend was just saying like, yeah, with this lockdown being as sudden as it was, yeah, it was jarring at first, but then after settling into the new routine of his life, he's just like, you know, beforehand, like back in the old days, I didn't really want to get out of bed or like transit to uni, which takes like 1 to 2 hours. As soon as class starts, I just like click the join button on the Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and as soon as class ends, I just go leave meeting and I'm just still in the comforts of my own bed or like in my own living room. And I can just like grab the cereal whenever I want. There's no times lost in transit, and you get more time to sort of do some self-reflection. When I used to have to use public transport to get to university, which is in the city, there's two options for me. I either arrive half an hour early or half an hour late. There's no in between. After the class, I have to go all the way back to home, and that's already like anywhere between 2 to 4 hours of the day lost just sitting on a train and bus, just getting to the class in the first place. So there's so much time saved in a day. You don't realize there's all the little stuff throughout your day that like really adds up the time, and if you really calculate it, all the times spent cooking, transiting, doing whatever, they add up, and you realize, wow, like the 8 hours that I have to myself, or not a lot of that is really used well. 8 times 3 model, right? 8 hours work, 8 hours leisure, 8 hours sleep. The problem is you have to use part of those 8-hour leisure times to drive to work or to take the transport to work. I often focus on the time it takes to transit to work, but I forget to calculate the time that it takes to get back from work. And so I have to remember the times by 2. Let's say, for example, it takes an hour and a half to get to work. An hour and a half times 2 equals 3 hours. So that's 8 minus 3 hours. That leaves me with 5 hours for a bit of me time. So that's a lot of time lost. Whereas now with online format, with study or work, I gain an extra 3 hours by virtue of not having to get to the place where I work or study. Fun. Imagine what you can do with those 3 hours. Then again, because I procrastinate a lot, I don't really do anything with those 3 hours. Well, that's all I have for you guys. Another little update for you, I suppose. So with that said, yeah, thanks for watching. Keep on procrastinating. Nice to be outdoors for a change rather than like the studio, aka my room sort of setting. Hope the audio's okay. I didn't bother to mic everything up properly. Because they say it's like good image quality means nothing if you have bad audio. As soon as you have bad audio, people just cannot forgive that. I've done the mortal sin of just keeping the shotgun mic back at the camera, so don't do that. In fact, you should, get the microphone as close as you humanly can without it getting into the frame. That way you can get the best signal to noise ratio and have the least echoes and reverbs. Alright, sayonara. Got nothing more. And that's just another vlog, I suppose. Yeah, I'll make this like another vlog video. Alright, see ya.